Hi, I'm going to go over my blog, which I created using React. This was built using a React component library called Material Kit React. Material Kit React is a redesign of Material UI, a popular React component library. I built this because I was curious to use a new component library and see all the little things about it. A challenge that I had when building this, when I showed this to my last position at OakCrowd when I was applying to them. They tested me by asking me to make my blog app load the app first before loading in the blogs themselves from my database. Because of that, now when I reload my page, you can kind of see that for a split second, you can see it says no blog post before it finally grabs and then renders all of the blog posts. So this blog web application simply starts off with just a couple of pages, not too complicated. It is a very simple component structure because I'm not trying to do too much with the application itself. Instead, I am trying to play with the Material UI kit. To start off, let's have a look at the blog board page, which is the page we're looking at right now. It's just a page listing all of the blogs that I have available. And here we have it, just a header and the list inside of a couple of divs that are causing this raised white background. So why don't we go take a look at the header view here. The header view component is rendering this header component that comes in from as one of the components from Material Kit. It takes in a few things. It creates, for example, the navigation menu at the top, the brand that shows up on the top left, and the nav menu, right? Underneath that, we see here the parallax, which creates this background image that kind of scrolls a little bit slower than this panel, this background panel here, and creating this parallax effect. I put both of these things as part as my own header view component, and the reason for this was because I would be using all of this code on all of my pages to create a consistent header for my application. As you can see here, if I go over to my application, I can view my blog list. I can go and click on Add New Post, and the post form is there. If I go back to the list, I can go click on one of them. And as you see here, the background and style and feel of the entire application stays consistently the same, with the same image, same header, all present on all three pages. The view, the list, and the ad. So let's go take a look back at the blog post, and we have here blog post list. So let's go take a look at that. Blog post list. And here we have just a couple components. The rendering is happening just mapping through all of the blog posts and then returning a blog post item for each one. Very simple, straightforward. Almost sounds a little bit the same as our Finantify app, where I am looping through a list and outputting the item. Let's go take a look at the blog post item. And here we have it. Very simple, straightforward, just rendering all of our items and the way we want to see it. Nothing special, nothing crazy. If we go take a look at our blog ad page, right? Because right now we're looking at blog view, which is just even simpler. Blog view here is just letting us view the blog. And here's the blog.js. Outputting all of our stuff. Our blog view is simply structuring everything and grabbing our blog from the database. This is happening right here. Very straightforward. This is not using Redux. It does have Redux, the skeleton configuration kind of put in place, but I am not using it to take care of state, since right now that was not the focus. Here, this is pretty much how I was able to finish up the challenge from OakCrowd by putting our blog download, or where we fetch our blogs from our database, it is now happening inside this component did mount, which is part of one of the lifecycle methods, and it happens once or after the component has mounted, letting the database information be called in after your component or your app has rendered. And since that happens first, it lets your application render much faster, so it doesn't have to go searching through your database for the information. Calling the database and grabbing the information inside component and mount allowed the app to behave the way it is behaving now, where we see a loading text that comes from down here when there is no posts to show. All right, and now, last but not least, our post form at blog page here is pretty much just outputting a form, very similar to the way we were using the forms inside Financify. So let's go take a look at this form. And we see here, it's very similar. On change for all of our fields, a constructor setting our form in case in the future I would want to edit posts. Right now that is not implemented, but maybe in the future, it depends if I want to continue this application or not. So here is our form, very simple. Here is our styling for this, some of the form. Just some stuff that I wanted to play around with, since I do like to do things differently in order to not always do the same thing over and over again and try and learn new things along the way. And that is pretty much it for our blog application. Like I said, very simple, straightforward, just a list of textures with a few small features like dates. If I go and add a new post, I am using our moment library. And if I go into list, both inside of here and inside of my code, you can see here that I am minimizing the amount of text that is outputted, like seen here in the character length test post. If I click on character length test, you'll see that the text here is much larger than what is seen on the blog list. If I go back to the blog list, you see character length test, much shorter, and it says here, click to continue read. And that is seen here in the, okay. So in the blog post item is where I cut the description text based on the text length, just by using a text.slice. Simple, straightforward, nothing too crazy. And that is pretty much it for my blog application. A very simple, straightforward application used for testing the Material Kit React library of components. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.